So let's see MVC architecture and three-tier client-server architecture. What are the components are involved in MVC, and also what are the different layers are involved in the three-tier client-server architecture. So let's start with MVC architecture. There are three components mainly which are involved in the MVC architecture: model, second component is the view, third component is the controller. Here, whenever the user requests for any of the data, any request in order to update the data or delete the data, any modification need to do in the model, the first request will be go to the controller here. Then what is the role of the controller? It will just coordinate between the model and the view. Just by updating information in the model is going to notify to the controller back that information which is requested, that is updated in the model, and also the same visibility of the model will get updated in the view component by sending the data. So the main role of the controller is notifying the updated information to the model as well as in the view. So here simultaneously content will be updated on both the side, on the user side, that is the view model, and also in the business logic side, that is nothing but application, that is model. So MVC architecture has divided into three different components: model, view, and controller. Model represents the data or the business logic. So it is also acting as the database where all the information about the application will be stored in the model. And the view represents the user interface. The controller is acting as a mediator between the model and the view here. How the data should be represented in the form of user interfaces. So that will be visible to the end users. The controller receives the information from the user and also interact with the model to process the data, update the data to the display the result with the help of view. So we can also say that the model is acting as one of the database where the data will be stored and also the modification also takes place in one place. The controller role is to notify about the changes to the model as well as the view. What about the three-tier client-server architecture? So here we have three different layers, three different components. That is nothing but the first one is the presentation view. We can also call it as the web server view. Then second one is the application view, and third one is the database. Sometimes we can also call it as it is the data tier, presentation tier, application tier, and database tier. So this is the simple representation of three tier. So presentation layer role is the user interface layer where the interaction occurs. It handles the data display and the user input. So whenever the user requests for any data, that will be submitted to the server in order to process in terms of Google Forms or the registration forms, in terms of user interfaces. What do you mean by the application layer? Where it involves a business logic layer, which we have covered in the MVC architecture. It also processes the user request and it perform the computation and make the decision. So here application tier, it is acting as a mediator between the presentation tier as well as in the data tier. Data tier is nothing but the database layers. So what is the role of the data tier is acting as a storage layer. Here it is responsible for managing and also updating information and storage. It handles the database operations and the data retrieval. So with the help of the SQL queries, we are able to retrieve the data from the database. So whenever if you can say the four-tier architecture, whenever if you say the four-tier architecture, here the presentation layer will be divided into two different parts. So one is the client and as well one more is the server. So when it is splitted into a presentation layer into two different parts, so client server and the server side, and the next one is the application tier, and the last one is the database or the data tier. So these are the four components which will be involved in the four-tier client server architecture. So now the question comes here, the three-tier architecture and the MVC pattern. The role of the components are look like similarly, look like same. So are they same? No, because Both architecture, they have a different approaches for improvising the software development in a different way. So the method what they follow is different. So obviously both the architectures are not same, or they are not different in the different approach in order to receive the updates. So for further information, please subscribe to this channel.